know a thing or two about dealing with very passionate fan bases. Is there anything about the Outlander fans that make them unique that you had to keep in mind while making the show?
No, it's kind of the honest truth of it. My experience is that fans are fans, and they're very similar in a lot of ways, whether they're fans of Star Trek or Galactica or Star Wars or Outlander. Fans come from this place of love. They come from this place of passionate love for material, for characters, for a world, and their first concern is, please don't screw it up for us. Please, make it still work. We want to enjoy it. That's where they're coming from, and everything is an offshoot of that. Criticism, outrageous behavior on occasion, the time they spend making their own versions of props or costumes. It all comes from this very heartfelt love of material. So once you accept that, you realize, well, it's all incredibly positive, and let's just try to, reassure them, let's try to talk to them, let's try to embrace them as well as you can. And the Outlander fans really aren't any different. If you broke them down demographically, sure, you'd say that the readership of the book skews female, skews older than, say, the fan base of Battlestar Galactica is younger and male. Okay, but beyond that kind of very superficial demographic breakdown, what they do and how they express it and what they want from the show is very similar.
Have you made a deliberate attempt at kind of branching out the material so it could bring in more male viewers?
No, it's interesting. I get the question, since the show is now premiered, people talk about, oh, it's a much more female perspective, or has the female gaze, in sex scenes, etc. And what are you doing to bring in men? And the truth is, the conversation inside the show has nothing to do with any of that. All we can really spend time and think about is trying to make the story work, and trying to make the scenes good, and trying to make the show look great. And we don't think about that ever. It's sort of like, well, it's good, and we hope there's an audience, whoever they are, come and watch. And whether they're male or female, it's just irrelevant to how we do the show.
Will we get more episodes from Jamie's perspective down the line?
No, we do this one episode from his perspective to sort of launch the second half of the season. And it was also a moment to sort of pivot and tell the audience that the series overall, beyond the first season, is really about the two of them. So this was a moment to sort of include him in that intimate conversation with the audience and just kind of tell them, oh, and it's actually his story too.
Without spoiling anything, can you guys tease anything in the episodes to come that fans might really dig or that you're really excited about?
Well, there's going to be a witch trial, which is pretty cool. We're going to get to go back to Lollybrook, which is where Jamie is from, meet some of his family. There's a big search episode where Claire's looking for him. It travels through the Highlands and just gorgeous scenery and really interesting, fun stuff. And then it builds towards this really dark and harrowing finale where the long brewing confrontation between Jack Randall and Jamie finally comes to a head.
How about for you? Is there anything about your character that you're really excited for fans to finally see? Because there's a nice confrontation coming up that I enjoy quite a bit.
Yeah, there is a confrontation coming up, and it goes beyond words now. Colum has to take action because these guys are crossing the line right and left. Jamie and Dougal, their behaviour, their decisions are unacceptable to Colum. So it's beyond words now. Something has to be done.
Can you talk a little bit about doing the legs? I know you probably wear some sort of VFX socks or leggings or something like that, but is there anything that you need to do personally just to change his gait to make it appropriate to the condition?
Yeah, basically there are limitations. Obviously, you have to work within the parameters of what's physically possible, but I was assisted with Terry, designed a pair of shoes which emphasised the bow-leggedness of Colum's legs, and it just meant that, because it was so severe and getting progressively worse, movement is a real decision, He has to think about turning round, sitting down, and that all involves, that affects how he breathes, how he speaks, and it's interesting. Ron said the socks looked like, the Partridge Family?
They look like the Partridge Family bus.
Yeah.
These multicolored, you know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. They had a different take in Scotland. One of the guys told me it looked like Russian constructivism. And I went, wow, that's incredible. These simple coloured shapes. So it's Russian constructivism meets the Partridge Family bus.
That was where the Partridge Family was born, from Russian constructivism. So
oh, wow, that's interesting.
It's a deep, interesting show.
Yeah, there you go. You're the first to get this.
Exclusive.
Aye.
I feel like this is the worst transition ever now, but I have to ask about the sex scenes and the nudity here because, yeah, it's kind of crazy. What did the higher-ups at Starz have to say about that? Were they just kind of like, go nuts and do what you want, or were there any limitations?
No, Starz from the beginning said, do whatever you want. There is no, censor on this network. There's no standards and practices. Just make the show work, which is like, whew, that's great. So then, I just said to everybody, all right, when we do these scenes, let's try to make them real. Let's try not to do TV sex, which none of us have TV sex, but we have real sex. So let's try to make them really about a man and woman getting to know each other, a man and woman married, a man and woman in different stages of their relationship, and how, let's not make it gratuitous, let's not just show nudity, but let's make sure that anytime we're going to do this, it's for a reason. We're showing something about their relationship, where they are with each other. There's an emotional arc that we're watching through those scenes so that it's part of their relationship and it's not just, okay, and time to take the tops off, kind of a thing.
And how about just making your actors feel safe in that kind of scene on set? I'm sure they're aware of what they're getting into, but it's, a whole crew there, probably in a couple of scenes, actually, a whole group of extras as well.
It's tough, I don't know how they do it personally. It's very, you have to be fearless. You have to really, put yourself in a different place. We try to give them space. We give them rehearsal time. We always clear the set for those scenes, so it's only the most essential personnel are there. We cover the monitors. It's, you try to protect them. You try to give them what they feel is a safe space, so that they're willing to be vulnerable and willing to go places.
And now you guys were obviously picked up for season 2 really quickly after this season premiered. So what can we expect from season 2? How are you guys going to raise the bar next time around?
Well, season 2 will follow the second book in the series, Dragonfly and Amber, and it's a very different book, so it presents a lot of different challenges. The story goes to Paris in the 18th century for half of the book, and then returns to Scotland in the second half for the Jacobite Rebellion. So it's not going to look anything like the first season. It's more political. It's more, suddenly we're in an urban setting in Paris. We're dealing with the royal court. We're dealing with Bonnie Prince Charlie. We're dealing with the Jacobites. Then it's a war. It's a much more complex tale. So it's taken a lot more effort to kind of figure out exactly how to structure it. The costumes, we had to make all new costumes because there's nothing from Scotland in Paris. There's no set dressing that we could use in Paris. There's no sets. We are prepping an entire new series for year 2.
And now to wrap up, I wanted to ask about Star Wars Underworld. Is that completely gone, or is it possible that The Force Awakens could kind of bring that back into
It's so
focus?
funny that people keep asking me about this. Star Wars Underworld was the series I briefly worked on. I have no idea. It's all, the entire Star Wars thing got sold to Disney, so it's over in the house of the mouse, and whatever they want to do with it is what they're going to do with it. And I've heard nothing, so I don't know.
That's a bummer. It sounds like it could have been the perfect show for you, too.
It could have been a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Trust me. There was one of the great experiences of my life was sitting in a room with George Lucas and arguing about Darth Vader.
What was the argument about?
It was like, what would he say in this circumstance? And you find yourself, you're sitting there going, no, what are you talking about? He can't say that. And then you catch yourself, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm telling George. It's like, how crazy is this? But he was a good sport about it. And he was just like, all right, fine. He's like, no, he won't. I'm like, oh, then no, he won't.
Thank you.